Welcome back to the Ghosty Girls podcast. Alicia is digging through a plastic Ziploc bag because it's not like I didn't get her a Bailey Sarian makeup bag for Christmas. That was one of your Christmas gifts. Why the fuck aren't you using it?
Because I had too much shit in this bag. I couldn't transfer it all over, but I do use it.
She's got a plastic Ziploc bag full of a bunch of makeup. She said she's going to do her makeup while she's listening. So what are you going to do? Red for blood, I guess?
I think I'm going to do red because I have green eyes and red makes green pop.
It does, yeah. And also, it's good for today's episode, which is part 3 of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. Are you guys tired of these assholes yet?
Yes. Yes.
Me too. This is part 3. There's going to be one more part, and then I'm fucking done.
I feel bad for Barbie and Ken. Like, I was never a Barbie fan.
I loved Barbie.
I
still love Barbie.
But I feel bad because they are calling them the Barbie and Ken killers. And, like, that gives Barbie and Ken a bad name.
I'm surprised Mattel didn't sue over that.
Right? Oh, shit. Should we name this something else? Should I change the picture?
Nah, we're fine.
All right. Fuck it. Either way, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye. I'm just kidding.
Like and subscribe.
I can't. Fair enough.
So last week, we left off at the abduction of Kristen French. So she's coming out of school for the day. She's approached by Karla, who, innocently enough, pulls out a map and asks Kristen to help her with directions because she is lost. Paul comes up behind her and throws her in the car.
I hate these guys.
Yeah, I feel like everyone does, especially Canadians. They really hate them. Yeah.
I get it.
So Paul and Karla pull into the garage at their home. Karla jumps out of the car and she runs inside to close all the blinds, lock all the doors, and disconnect all the phones in the house. Paul puts a blindfold on Kristen when they're still in the car, and then Kristen is guided by Paul to the bathroom where he insists that she urinate for him on camera because we know Paul. He's basically a director of snuff films at this point. He's disgusting.
I forgot about that part already.
Yeah. Kristen then asks Paul what time it is and states that her mother is going to be very worried. That broke my heart.
Oh.
Yeah. This girl has just been kidnapped. She's probably scared to death. And the first thing she says is how her mom is going to be worried. That's so sad.
That is sad.
Yeah.
Bless her little heart.
I know. And Kristen was right. Her mother was worried. Unlike Leslie Mahaffey, Kristen didn't have any behavioral issues. Kristen not coming home was a huge deal, and she was reported missing immediately.
Good.
As the panic set in for the French family, Kristen was being held captive in a bedroom and was being repeatedly sexually assaulted by Paul, while Karla was in the kitchen making dinner for everyone. It's like, this is interesting because Karla kind of goes into mothering mode. She cooks a chicken dinner for Kristen, and she even cleans up the blood on her face that she got from a cut while struggling with Paul in the car.
She's crazy.
Yes. But that's where the nurturing aspect ends. Because after all this, Karla is seen on tape more than happy to film, coach, and also participate in the repeated assaults of Kristen French. She even gives Kristen little pep talks and tells her to smile for the camera when she's crying too hard to get into character.
Get into character? Don't mind my face right now.
Yeah, because they do little like role play scenarios, and I'll get into that in a second.
Oh,
yeah. In one assault, which Karla is filming, Paul is raping Kristen while repeatedly punching her in the back as Karla is sticking the camera in her face and yelling at her to smile for the camera.
That's ridiculous.
Afterwards, they gave Kristen sleeping pills and threw her in a closet until they were ready for her the next day. So they kept her overnight. They actually keep her for 3 days.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. The next day was Good Friday. Because remember, this was Easter weekend. Mm-hmm. And the search for Kristen had already been in progress full force. They conducted interviews with the family, friends, and also witnesses, because there were a couple witnesses. They also went back to the school to look for clues. Outside, they found Kristen's lone shoe, and when she saw this, her mother, Donna, just started crying. She knew.
Well, yeah.
She knew. Yep.
It's never good when you see one single shoe.
No. Nope. A witness stated that she thought that she saw a struggle in the parking lot and remembered seeing a cream-colored Camaro or Firebird at the scene. Unfortunately, Paul's car was not a Camaro, it was not a Firebird, and it wasn't even cream-colored. He drove a gold Nissan.
Oh.
So not a good start to the investigation.
No.
Later on in the day, on Good Friday, Karla and Paul wake Kristen up. They film her taking a bath. And then they film a scene where Karla and Kristen are acting like young schoolgirls who are getting ready to go out for the night. They played around with makeup and perfume. Karla had all her makeup set out on the vanity. So she prepped for this. It's, again, Karla was a willing participant in this and was also enjoying it. And I'm going to keep saying that because I want to drill it in everyone's heads. Because she eventually, spoiler alert, and we'll get into this in the last episode, she claims battered woman syndrome. Paul made her do everything. She didn't want to do any of it. He forced her, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to say that she is seen on tape multiple times enjoying it. I'm going to keep saying that so I can drive that home. I want everyone to understand.
Yeah.
That, yes, she was abused by Paul, but that doesn't mean that she also was not an abuser herself.
Well, she clearly was.
Yes, clearly was.
I hate this girl.
Yes, yep. And you'll understand all this when we get to the fourth and final episode where we discuss the trial and everything. I might play a couple clips of her interrogation because it's very shocking. I mean, she just very matter-of-factly says what they did together, doesn't really have any emotion. I mean, at one point, the investigators that are interrogating her, one of them actually got physically ill because of all the details. They had to keep taking breaks, and she actually was getting annoyed that they had to keep taking breaks and was like, you guys don't have to take breaks on my account. I'm doing fine, because she enjoyed talking about it.
Which there's another red flag right there.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate them. I can't, I don't have words for this.
I know. So the night of Good Friday, Paul decides to go out and rent a movie for the three of them to watch together. And another interesting detail. Did you know that McDonald's sold pizza at one point?
No, didn't you say that in the last episode?
Did I?
Was that just you and I talking?
I don't know. Maybe I did.
Something about McDonald's pizza.
Apparently, pizza was a thing at McDonald's. I don't know if it was just a Canadian thing, because I've never heard of that in the States. But Paul went out to go rent movies and go get them a McDonald's pizza.
Can we bring that back? Can we have pizza in the U.S. from McDonald's? That would be great.
I mean, Doja Cat brought back the Mexican pizza at Taco Bell. Remember? She did a tweet and was like, we need to bring it back. And
yeah.
They brought it back.
They did.
So, I mean, side note, but whether or not you're a Doja Cat fan, she pretty much single-handedly brought back the Mexican pizza at Taco Bell.
She makes shit happen.
So put respect on her name.
Yeah. Doja, hit us up.
Anywho, Paul decided that it would be best to tie Kristen up while he was out, because he was worried that Kristen would overpower Karla and get away. Because Karla at this point was very frail. She was very thin, wasn't really looking that good. You could tell some shit was going on.
Yeah. So
he goes out and he rents their favorite movie, Criminal Law, which has Kevin Bacon in it, who plays a serial killer named Martin Teal. And if you're wondering why I added this in, because this is pretty random, it's because it will eventually be relevant.
Okay.
So their favorite movie is called Criminal Law, and it's about a serial killer named Martin Teal. Keep that in the back of your noggin for later.
Do I have to?
Paul gets pretty pissed off when he comes home because he finds Kristen on the floor laying in her own vomit. And he's like, what the fuck, Karla? She's supposed to be tied up. Come to find out, Kristen's father had been on the local news pleading for the return of Kristen, and Karla untied her to bring her to the TV to watch it, which caused Kristen to become inconsolable and vomit. Well, this is super fucked up.
That's really messed up.
Karla actually untied her, brought her out of captivity to watch her own father crying about his missing daughter on TV.
And she was already concerned about how her mother was going to be feeling.
Yes. But yeah, Karla continued to pop off about how you're the victim and battered woman syndrome and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you bitch.
But I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So yeah, they continue raping and assaulting Kristen on video. Karla tells her that she loves little girls. And again, Paul's not directing this. Like, he's not telling her what to say. She's saying this of her own accord. So she directs Kristen in how to pleasure both herself and Paul. But Kristen, being a literal fucking child, wasn't performing to Paul's likeness. So he decides to do things like urinate on her, and also, and this is awful, he stuck his bottom in her face in an attempt to defecate on her face.
Oh, God.
But he ended up not being able to.
Thank God. I hate this guy.
I know. It's said that the camera inadvertently captured Karla's reflection in the mirror while all this was going on, because she was filming, and she was smiling with an evil look on her face. Jurors saw this and said that. So this wasn't like, it's not like she knew that she was being on camera and was performing. Like, this is a reflection that was caught. So, like, that's her actual reaction. She was enjoying it.
I feel like I already hate these guys, right?
Yeah.
And this story's fucking terrible. Like, it's awful. It's a good story, but it's fucking terrible. Like, the situations and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you get into episode 4 or 5 or 6, like, whenever the trial and all that other stuff is, like, I feel like we're all just going to end being pissed off.
It's not going to end there.
No.
Because the ending of this is not a great one.
That's what I mean. We're all going to be pissed off.
Oh, yeah. You're going to continue to be pissed off.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So this brings us to Saturday. And remember, she was kidnapped on Thursday. So this is the longest Paul and Karla had ever kept a sex slave alive. This was also the day before Easter, which that makes me so sad for her family.
Always holidays with this guy.
I think that he does it on purpose because narcissists love to ruin shit for people. It's just weird that all of these things happen around holidays. Like when Leslie Mahaffey was abducted, it was around Father's Day. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But anyway, searches are going on for Kristen, and Paul and Karla continue repeatedly assaulting and raping her while filming it. At this point, Kristen is getting a little defiant. Because she's probably to the point where, I mean, like, she's been held in captivity since Thursday.
Yeah. She's like, kill me or let me go. Pick one.
Probably. I mean, I can't even imagine. At one point, she calls Paul a bastard, which I am sure pissed him off because if you remember in episode 1, that's what Paul's mother told him he should get used to calling himself, a bastard. Karla then violently rapes Kristen with a wine bottle as punishment. Karla did this herself.
I can't.
Which is something that Paul used to do to his ex-girlfriends, if you remember.
He must have told Karla about that.
Well, he also used to do it to Karla.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm assuming not rape Karla like that because it's said that she enjoyed all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Paul then violently rapes Kristen and then tells Karla to get him some Kleenex to clean up with. And then he calls her a fucking idiot when she returns with only a couple of sheets of Kleenex because he wanted the whole box. Kristen is then filmed saying, and I quote, "I don't know how your wife can stand being around you." Paul screams at her to shut up, and then the tape abruptly cuts out. This is the last footage of Kristen alive, and the murder was not filmed.
I mean, that's a blessing, but shit.
Yeah. So we don't have any way to confirm if it was Paul, Karla, or the both of them together that murdered Kristen. And we'll get into this in the last episode, but they both say it was the other, but both of them are fucking liars. So you got to take everything both of them says with a grain of salt.
They've both done everything together.
Yes.
And in Karla's sense, with a smile on her stupid butthole face.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and I hate to say this, like this physically pains me to say this, but Paul actually, I feel, is more credible than Karla. Because, we'll talk about this in episode 4, he does admit to doing things. Yeah. He admits, he's like, yeah, I did rape them. Yep. Yeah. I did. But I didn't kill him. She did. So, like, I mean, he does admit to things, whereas Karla's like, I was forced to do everything. I didn't want to do any of it. Nah.
Maybe that was their, like, setup. Like, he got to do all the sexual stuff and all the raping and stuff. And she was like, well, my fantasy is murder.
It could be.
I bet that's what
we would never know because, I mean, Paul's a liar too, but Karla is a real fucking liar. Ugh. And we'll really, really get into all that in part 4. I know I keep saying that, but don't worry, it's coming. I'm going to expose everything with her.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, don't you worry your pretty little heads. I'm going to rip Karla a new asshole in the next one. Trust.
Boom.
Starbies. So on Easter Sunday, which is the day that people believe that Kristen was probably murdered, although it could have been Saturday, we don't really know. But yeah, on Easter Sunday, Karla presents Paul with an Easter card that reads, "To the most wonderful man in the entire world who means everything to me. All my love, Carly Curls." This is like around this. I mean, this is like within 24 hours of one of them or both of them murdering this girl.
I can't.
Just the casualness of everything is so scary to me. How these people are doing these awful fucking things and then they're like, I'm gonna write you an Easter card. Love you. Mwah.
Carly Curls.
Carly Curls.
If they ever do another documentary, you should play her because the voice is like on point.
Carly Curls. I will play a couple clips in the last episode of her talking.
Deal.
Because I'm telling you, it's chilling. And I'm also gonna play some clips of Paul Bernardo talking because Paul Bernardo has the douchiest fucking voice you have ever heard in your entire life. I can't even describe it.
He has a douchey face.
Yes, and he talks like he's coked out. Like he talks like this. He talks really fast and he doesn't really take any breaks and he's just all over the place. Yeah.
No. I was thinking he would like be one of those talkers that would elongate. Oh my god.
No. He talks really super fast. Like he doesn't even really take any breaths. He just keeps going and going and going.
Well, then I am looking forward to hearing him.
Yeah,
I mean, no, I'm not, but yeah.
Yeah. And then Karla like talks like this. So it's just, it's a contrast between the two of them.
Fuckers.
I don't know. They're both awful. They then go over to Karla's parents' house for Easter dinner. And this is where I got it wrong in the first episode. So I want to make a correction. I made a comment towards the end of that episode that Karla's family came over for Easter dinner while there was a corpse in the basement. I was mistaken about that. Her family actually came over for dinner another night while the corpse of Leslie Mahaffey was in the basement. That was Father's Day.
Oh, another holiday. Shocker.
Yeah, so it makes it bad, but I did make a mistake in that one, so I just wanted to like correct myself. It was Leslie Mahaffey that was in the basement dead while her parents came over for Father's Day dinner at their house. And apparently at one point, someone in the family, I think it was the mom, went to go downstairs because I guess that's where they stored like potatoes or something. And they had to be like, no, we'll get them because there was literally a dead body laying on the floor in the basement.
Oh my God. Are there any clips of how her parents reacted to any of this?
I don't believe there are, but I will look into that because I'm going to do a deep dive when we get into the 4th episode of like everyone's reactions and all that. Okay. Yeah. So after the murder of Kristen French, shit really went downhill very quickly for Paul and Karla's relationship.
Good.
Yeah. Friends and family all started to notice how anxious Karla was all the time. And they also noticed how she was almost always completely covered up to hide bruises that were all over her body. Now, she would tell people that it was from playing with the dog. You know, they had that Rottweiler. She would blame it on that.
I walked into a door.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if it was in the second episode. Yeah, it was in the second episode that Karla had become obsessed with thinking that their house was haunted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So after the death of Kristen French, she told coworkers that her house was really haunted. She needed help. She thought that there was the ghost of like an angry soul stuck in her house. Looking back, people think that it was probably like the guilt maybe of killing someone in their house, like manifesting. But I don't know. I don't know how guilty Karla even feels about doing anything.
It's like a poltergeist.
Meanwhile, police were still investigating the Camaro lead because more people had contacted the police to let them know that a cream-colored Camaro-like sports car was seen driving erratically on the day of Kristen French's abduction. Of course, they were going in the completely wrong direction, but they didn't know it at the time. And tons of people were calling in and reporting people that they knew who drove cream-colored Camaro sports cars. So police definitely had their work cut out for them investigating all of these leads. Like every person that called in and said like, hey, I know someone who has a cream-colored Camaro, they looked into it. Every single lead.
That's good.
Yeah. Investigators were also working hard on the Leslie Mahaffey case, although they had not connected the two cases yet. Interestingly, there was also a missing girl named Terry Anderson that they were investigating. And some people believe, although this is only speculation and it's never been proven, but some people believe that Paul and or Karla is responsible for the death of this girl as well.
Really?
Yeah. Again, this is mere speculation. There's no evidence linking either of them to the case. But all I'm saying is that it would not surprise me in the slightest if they had more victims that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
Would not surprise me at all. On the morning of April 30th, 1992, 2 weeks after the abduction, the body of Kristen French was discovered in a wooded area in a ditch off the side of a road. The body was nude and had a knife wound in the shoulder, bruises all over her, and all of her hair was cut off. Not sure why, because some people were like, it's probably because they were trying to get rid of DNA evidence. But they didn't shave her head. Like, they just cut hair.
Just to be disrespectful.
I think that maybe they took it as a trophy as well.
Ooh, maybe.
Yeah, because they found some other things in their house.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. A group of FBI profilers were brought in, and they determined that Kristen and Leslie's deaths were not committed by the same person. So, yeah, they completely missed the mark on that one. At this point, investigators had created the Green Ribbon Task Force, which was a team solely dedicated to solving the murder of Kristen French. The FBI profilers determined that not one, but two males had been responsible for the murder of Kristen French. They thought that there was one dominant figure and another person who was essentially a follower, and that this follower would have assumed the caretaker role. Yeah, and profilers determined this because one of the wounds on Kristen looked like it had been tended to, which it had. So they were semi-right on that, but they thought it was two males, which obviously incorrect. They determined that these people would be in their early to mid-20s, that they would both have very low self-esteem, and that neither one of them was a pedophile, which I thought was really weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, because, I mean, she was underage.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make you a pedophile?
What? Yes.
I don't know. What do I know? I'm just some bitch.
Some bitch.
They determined that the dominant one would most definitely already have a criminal record of violent crimes, which that was incorrect because Paul did not have a criminal record at that time. One thing that the Green Ribbon Task Force did that I thought was so on the money was they set up a surveillance camera at the scene of where they found Kristen French's body. And they did this because perpetrators, they often go back to the site to relive it.
Well, didn't you say Stephen Pennell went back?
I don't know if it was Stephen Pennell, but I know that Henry Louis Wallace did, because he's the one that made the comment about the body looking like E.T.
Yes. I do remember
Ted
that.
Bundy did that. I'm pretty sure Ed Kemper did that. BTK, Dennis Rader did that.
Fucker.
Ted Bundy would go as far as digging back up the corpses and assaulting them again. The corpse. Yeah, he was a necrophiliac. I feel like I need to do Ted Bundy soon, because you all
talk
know
about
Ted
him all the time, and I think you
do. Yeah, I think it's about time.
That'll be a multi-parter.
That'll probably be a 4-parter, because
Maybe a 6-parter.
because Ted Bundy is like, I'll get all into it, because he's my favorite case. Just because how can you escape prison not once but fucking twice?
I mean,
He
he's
escaped.
smart.
Yeah, he is super smart. Anyway, I digress.
Okay, we digress.
But yeah, many serial killers do that. They will visit the areas where they dumped a body, or where they committed the crime. So that was very smart of them to do, in my opinion. But unfortunately, Paul and Karla did not visit the dumping site. I'm thinking that they probably didn't, because they had a live action video of what went down. So it's not like they had to relive anything at the site. Like, they could rewatch these videos, and they did rewatch these videos together.
God, I hate these guys.
Yeah, so why would they go to the dumping site when they could just pop a VHS tape in the player and relive it that way? You know what I mean?
You think all of our listeners know what a VHS is?
I would hope so. If you don't, a VHS, how do I even describe it? It's a tape.
It is what we used to watch movies on at home prior to DVRs and prior to live streaming.
And prior to DVDs.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, we actually had to go to like video libraries.
Blockbuster, if you will.
And Hollywood Video. And the mom and pop stores, where there would be like a curtain, like the beaded curtain, and you would go back and there would be the adult video section.
Over 18 room.
Oh, memories.
Those were the days.
So on May 1st, a call came in to the Green Ribbon Task Force tip line from a police officer in Ontario named Constable Hanley. And Constable Hanley said that he had a very interesting conversation with a man named Van Smearnis. Remember, of the Smearnis brothers. And this man was friends with a dude named Paul Bernardo. Constable Hanley stated that he was told that Paul was extremely violent towards women, and that he had also been questioned in the Scarborough rapist case, which, if you remember, Paul had actually given a DNA sample for this when he was questioned. The problem was that DNA testing was still relatively new. It took a long time, and it was expensive.
Right.
And although they had the sample had not yet been tested. So detectives decided to pay a little visit to 57 Bayview. Paul lets the detectives in, and they let him know that his name came up in the Kristen French case. Paul does admit to the detectives that he had been previously questioned in the Scarborough rapist case, but denied having anything to do with Kristen French's abduction and murder. This is crazy. When asked where he was the day that Kristen was kidnapped, Paul responds that he was at home working on his rap album. And the detectives were like, yeah, seems legit.
Yeah.
And they left after about 15 minutes of questioning.
Way to go, officers. Nailed it.
They did, however, place a call into Detective Steve Irwin. Remember him? Detective.
Crikey! Yeah, I remember the ruining my favorite shit.
Yep, he is the one heading up the Scarborough rapist case. So They talk, and it's determined that there is no link between Paul Bernardo, the Scarborough rapist case, or the murder of Kristen French.
Fuck's sake.
And shockingly, Paul Bernardo was completely cleared as a suspect.
Well, they were hoping that his rap album would hit it big and he'd remember the cops.
They were like, we can't put him in jail. We need to wait for this album to drop because this can be fucking fire.
Maybe they should have put him in jail because then he would have had street cred.
Yeah, and this is a little side note, but Paul actually wrote a book from prison.
I can't wait for this last episode, man.
It's gonna be a banger. I'm hoping it's not 2 hours long.
I don't care if
but
it is.
It may be.
This is
I
good.
don't know. That one's gonna be like balls to the wall wild. So over at the Bernardo house, it's just business as usual. Paul is working hard on his rap career. And although their relationship is volatile as fuck, Karla tells her friends that she's ready to start trying to get pregnant.
Oh, God.
After her husband's rap career takes off, though.
Duh.
Because we got to wait for that album to drop. You know what I'm saying? Paul is super jazzed that the cops are clueless and that he's in the clear. They do decide to hide the videotapes in a loft above the garage buried in insulation, though, just in case. They did have them hidden in Karla's hope chest, and they were like, yeah, we need to put these in a safer location because, yeah. Karla decides at this point that it would be a good idea to change their last name since the Bernardo name had a bit of heat on it. And the last name that they decide on is Teal, after their favorite character, serial killer Martin Teal from the movie Criminal Law. Paul also decides to change his middle name to Jason.
Of course he does.
Any guesses as to why he picked the name Jason?
Jason Bourne. I'm just kidding.
Nope.
That wasn't out yet.
Paul, are you ready to have something else ruined for you? Paul was a huge fan of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Fuck this guy.
Paul and Karla just out here ruining everything for everybody.
I want to punch them both in their stupid fucking faces.
Well, if you, I don't know where she's at right now, but you could have that opportunity if you find Karla, because she ain't in prison, I'll tell you that. Anywho.
Listen. I mean, I'm a lover, not a fighter, but like, I'm about to be a fighter.
I'm saying. But yeah, 3 days after Paul was questioned yet again by police, the couple filed their application to change their names. So they actually really did do this. Yeah. Inspector Bevan, who had been working with the Green Ribbon Task Force, was not so convinced that the murders of Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French weren't related. And in a move that shocked and also outraged the community, he produced a documentary on the murder of Kristen French, which mentioned that, just kidding, the murders may actually in fact be connected, and that there is also not one but two perpetrators out there. Hee hee. And people were like, what the fuck?
Right.
Yeah. This new information starkly contrasted the prior information released to the public. Despite the community being pissed off, you know who really enjoyed the documentary? Paul and Karla.
I was going to guess them.
They recorded it and watched it
on a
repeatedly.
VHS tape.
They thought it was hilarious that they got the car wrong because they were at this point still looking for a Camaro. And they also had tons of information that was incorrect in the documentary. So this convinced Paul that there was no way that they would ever be tied to these cases. And I mean, he was right. Without
the video.
Well, it's not even really the video. Without Karla
Oh.
running her mouth. Well, I don't want to spoil it too much. And both Paul and Karla collectively sighed in relief. And in celebration, they decided to drive to Atlantic City to pick up a sex worker who specialized in couples. They ended up finding a woman named Michelle, and they took her back to their suite at the Trump Plaza.
That's not there anymore, is it?
No. Paul, unfortunately, ended up not being able to perform probably because this was consensual and not their usual kidnap, rape, torture, murder sitch.
Yeah.
And Michelle ended up leaving. This rendezvous was actually captured on tape as well because Paul and Karla had hidden their video recorder in the room without Michelle's consent. Interestingly, Michelle later stated that despite Paul not being able to perform sexually, Karla was super into it and, quote, knew what she was doing.
But does Michelle realize how lucky she was?
Yeah, I'm sure she does.
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't think Paul and Karla have the balls to murder someone in an uncontrolled environment.
Yeah, that's fair.
It would have been really difficult to hide all of that evidence. I mean, look at Erica and BJ Seifert.
Yeah, you're right.
They fucking remodeled their hotel room. And there was still evidence. You're never getting rid of all the evidence.
Nope.
Ever.
No.
It's literally impossible unless you like burn the fucking house down and start over.
I'm shocked they didn't just hang Hooters posters around.
That would have been a sweet
calendars.
little tie-in, yeah. So again, even though this was consensual, it's important to note that Karla was all in on this. It's not like she was being forced into threesomes against her will by her husband. So I want to highlight that again. Nobody forced her with a gun to her head to do anything.
It's probably her idea.
Everyone always has a choice. And yeah, I would say that probably quite a bit of this was her idea.
Yep.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that. So after they got back from Atlantic City, Paul and Karla chose a new victim who, and this is ironic as fuck, was an old friend of Tammy Lynn Homolka named Norma. And they did the same spiel. Karla acted like the cool older sister who just wanted Norma to come over and hang out and watch movies and have sleepovers. But in reality, they were drugging and raping her just as they had their previous victims. And it's really interesting what they do with these young girls in order to groom them. Like, they have a very specific process.
Okay.
They take them on date nights. They buy them expensive things. They buy them new clothes. They shower them with gifts. They take these girls on trips.
So they love bomb?
Yes. Like, Paul and Karla completely love bomb these girls. Yep. And with them being teenagers, you can see how easy it would be to reel them in and gain their trust. Mm-hmm. Like, what teenage girl in the early 90s didn't want to be taken to the mall on a shopping spree, taken to fancy restaurants, etc.?
All of them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Paul and Karla knew what they were doing, and they were fucking good at it. So Paul, at this point, he was beginning to unravel. Friends and family said that he started to ramble nonsense and that he would repeatedly talk about his theory on death and looping, like, meaning like you don't really ever die, you just keep going and going and going, which isn't that weird. But I mean, he also told people that he was going to write a book, which, spoiler alert, he does in prison. He said that the book was going to be like a fantasy book about like spiders and stuff, like people, just off the wall shit. No, it wasn't. It wasn't about spiders. In addition to his erratic mental state, he also really began to beat the shit out of Karla to the point where she couldn't even hide it anymore. She actually showed up to work at the animal clinic with 2 huge black eyes. And there's pictures of this online, and it's awful. Ugh. I mean, he really beat her up. Her coworkers ended up calling her mother, and Dorothy showed up to take Karla out to lunch and talk. And she was able to get Karla to admit to her that Paul had beaten her in the face with a flashlight the previous day.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And again, her mom came and took her out for lunch at McDonald's, McDonald's keeps popping up in this, so we're just ruining everything. Now, I want to take a moment to say that I've been talking mad shit about Karla. I mean, it's almost impossible not to. She orchestrated and participated in kidnappings, rapes, and murders of several women at this point. Not even women, teenage girls.
Yeah.
But it is okay to feel some kind of sympathy for her in regards to the abuse that she suffered at the hands of Paul. Like, I'm not I'm a monster, but I'm not an animal. Okay.
I am. Fuck her. Karma's a bitch.
It is. I mean, it's very, very like psychologically confusing. You know what I mean? It's no one deserves to be beaten by anyone. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because I hate that it makes me feel a little bad for her. It's very like, it's like a mind fuck because you want to feel bad for her, but then you look at what she's done and then it's like, I can't. I don't, it's confusing. So the next day, Karla's family came to the home of 57 Bayview while Paul was gone and told Karla that she was leaving and they were taking her with them because the previous day is when she came out and said that he had been beating her. And then I don't know how or why, but she, I guess, convinced her mom that everything was okay. Like, if as a mom, I would have been like, no, you are not going back to that fucking house.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, she went back to the house, and I guess her family called that night to check on her, and Paul answered the phone and was like, she's fine, everything's fine, and then told her to get on the phone and say the same thing. When they came to the house the next day, he had beat her up even more. And they were like, no. Like, this is done.
Yeah.
You're coming with us. You're leaving him. Karla had to be convinced because she didn't initially want to leave Paul, but they were eventually able to get her to agree. And they told her to grab some personal items to take with her. It was at this point that Karla began to furiously search the loft above the garage because that is where Paul had allegedly hid the videotapes of the rapes, as well as the tape that contained footage of the death of Tammy Lynn. Unfortunately for Karla, those tapes were MIA.
Oh, shit.
Paul had apparently moved them. Now, if she would have found these tapes, I'm sure that she would have destroyed them, and we would have never known to what extent she was involved in this. So thank God she did not find these fucking tapes. But the tapes are controversial because when they were found, they weren't handed over to police for a while. And we'll talk about that.
Really?
It's fucked. It really is. So after Karla fails to find the tapes, because I'm sure at this point that this is probably the main reason why she didn't leave him is because she was like, oh, fuck, these tapes are still there. Like, we're in this together. We both fucking did this.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't want to go to prison. But if these tapes were destroyed, I mean, she could have said whatever she wanted, right?
Yep.
So yeah, after she doesn't find these tapes, she then sits her family down on their expensive white couch and tells her family that her husband, Paul, had murdered Tammy Lynn. And that is where we are going to end part 3 of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. We will pick up next week for the 4th and final installment, where we will discuss the downfall of Paul, Karla's deal with the devil, the trial of Paul Bernardo, the aftermath, and where Paul and Karla are today in 2025. The cat's head just popped up like, where the fuck are they?
She's like, what?
Thanksy. So yeah, we got one left, guys. We got one left. I hope that people are still sticking with us, because it's a rough one. And also, like, I'm not shying away from the details, because like I want to drive home how awful all of this was, specifically Karla Homolka. And you guys will find out why in the 4th episode. You'll find out why I keep trying to like drive this home, that she is a horrific person.
I mean, I can already figure it out because she's already blaming Paul.
Yeah, I mean, she sat down and told her family that Paul murdered Tammy. Didn't say anything about her involvement in it. And the interesting thing is that when she told her parents this, they weren't shocked.
What?
They had their suspicions. They weren't shocked.
They didn't take those suspicions to the police?
Nope.
Oh.
No, this whole case is just really fucking bonkers.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a good one, though. I hope you guys are enjoying it, man. I am.
Me too. I mean, I hope everybody likes it. If they do, I will definitely like go into more deep dives on cases. I got to pick which serial killer I want to do next. I don't know if I should do Ted Bundy or Ed Kemper, because I have books on both that I picked up at the bookstore.
Oh yeah, your antique.
I did.
Books?
I went on a thrift store run I'm collecting true crime books specifically from the 90s, like with the real trashy covers. And I did find some. Shout out to Second and Charles, because I found some books there for like $2.
Nice.
I know. So great place to find used books, and also like sources for this podcast, because the internet is a great source, but also there's nothing like a good old-fashioned book. I mean, obviously some of the books were written in the 90s or, you know, early 2000s or whatever. So, you know, for updates, I'm going to have to go to the internet for like new case updates and stuff. But to get the story, books are a good source.
Yeah. And they're probably a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah. I enjoy a good true crime book. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I'm sorry that this has been such a ride. But again, I mean, it's a true crime podcast. This is what y'all are here for. Yeah. It is what it is.
Sorry, not sorry. We love you.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next week for the last part.
See you next Tuesday.
But don't be one.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We love you. Bye.
Bye.